We were promised that things would be getting back to normal at this point. Really. But of course, those promises were never met. They were empty. And here we are at the end of January 2022, realizing that our problems have only gotten worse. As we move forward into February and beyond, we should keep a close eye on key global shortages that are threatening to disrupt the American status quo. Things are not looking too good around the world right now, folks. Things are just going haywire with all these different countries. The world leaders are scratching their heads. They don't know what to do. We are faced off right now on Capitol Hill with a global crisis of biblical proportions. And one of the main things that's going on is the problems that we're having in Russia right now. But could this just be a deterrent? Yes, they are manning their men up on their borders and everything else, hundreds of thousands of men. But why? Why is it so important for them to have control over one little dinky country? And why should we care? It's like these two huge leaders between the United States and Russia are playing a chess game. They don't realize the next move could be a deadly one. While still back here in Capitol Hill, nobody seems to be able to get along. Nobody seems to be able to take care of any of the businesses that needs to be taken care of. We're all just kind of scratching our heads, trying to figure out how to survive from day to day. Really, this is where we're at in this country at this point in time, folks. To start off, the shipping, the cargo, the whole shortages of all the cargo in this country and supplies that needs to be moved from one end to the other is just astronomical. From large businesses to small businesses, they're all affected in some way, shape, or form. Nobody has been excluded. What you're seeing at the ports and everything else, well, you don't see too much about that in the news anymore now, do you? Because they have other agendas now, things that they think are more important. But all these ships are still sitting there. All these containers are still sitting there. They're not being moved. There is a huge global crisis at our ports throughout the world. And the goods are not getting moved, folks. And until these things start moving, things are not going to get any better. They are trying their best at the ports to try to move these goods and get them out of there as fast as they literally can. People are doing most of their shopping online now because the big box stores just don't have the goods. The trains are moving through all this different winter weather that we have been experiencing lately. It is just horrible, but they're loaded to the max, folks. They're moving this stuff as fast as they can. They just don't have enough trains and tracks to do it all. They're running 24/7 nonstop, East Coast, West Coast, and then all the way back. Everything has to get moved. It's just, there's nobody to do it. And what are we facing now? A lot of these big companies, even small companies, have reverted to the most expensive and fastest way to get their products, which is by air freight. Flying it in from another country because they're tired of waiting for months because it's all sitting on ships. So what do we expect? Things are not the same as they used to be. We cannot move the goods. We have a bottleneck and we can't get past it. The whole trucker situation that is taking place right now is probably the most scariest thing for anybody out there. For those of you that don't know, if these truckers really want to clamp down on what is taking place around the borders and how truckers are not allowed to cross and the mandates and everything else, if they park these trucks, folks, we are in trouble as a country. North America will come to a standstill because there'll be no goods left to be moved because nobody is moving them. Period. So we need to watch this situation very closely, because if it changes drastically and you aren't prepared, it's going to be a very bad thing. These truckers hold the key. They get out there and they fight and drive all day long to move the goods for us American people, for everyone in North America. We need to have a little respect for these people. You see, ladies and gentlemen, with nothing getting through the ports and nothing coming across the country, you don't get your new cars, you don't get your auto parts. The car manufacturers aren't getting the electronics and things that they need. The chip shortage is just unreal. This is the time when we could make a huge difference in this country and start making things ourselves once again and get out of this situation that we are in. With the shelves being empty and you're not able to get the goods that you need, we are just not prepared, and we're not used to having these types of situations. Lines of people have been waiting to get into stores. People are buying whatever they can get their hands on, and so that they can survive. Factories are basically shutting down. They don't have the goods to process, and they don't have the products to process their goods. And then we have the great politicians, folks. Oh yes, the ones that we just dream of every night, right? And they sit there and they try to make all these promises. And then they always want to put the blame off on somebody else, this person, that person. Then we have the New York Stock Exchange. And that's just doomed to failure. It's so overpriced and everything. The feds just keep printing money like it's water. And that's just adding fuel to the fire. What are we going to do? It's going to collapse. There is no doubt about it. We can't keep going on the price that we're going. Look at Bitcoin. It's going down the tubes. Its time has come. Bitcoin will keep going down, and the cryptocurrency is going away until this can be straightened out. And then everyone is faced with the problems of all the bills that are coming in. Their credit cards are maxed. Their cash flow is coming to an end. What are they going to do? The homeless and the people that are hungry in this country, just this country, folks, is astronomical. It is growing by the thousands per day. People can't afford food. They're stuck with eating whatever they do have left in their homes, sitting in front of their TVs wondering when this will ever pass, listening to the news medias, and they're just getting more depressed, eating that can of beans that they had left in the cabinet because they weren't prepared. This is not where you want to be. You want to make sure that you are prepared. This is not survival. This is agonizing pain day after day. You walk over to your refrigerator and you open the door, and what's in there? Nothing. Because there's nothing in the stores. The truckers have shut down. What are you going to do? Things aren't looking too well. Are we going to revolt back to hard times, war times, where you scavenge for whatever it is that you need? It doesn't have to be this way, folks. This is just things that could come to pass. Think about it, though. Why would you want to be in that situation with your family? The food banks are trying their best to help out thousands and thousands of people, but they don't have the goods to take care of everyone. They don't have the people to handle the flow, and they don't have the food. They don't have the clothes. They don't have what they need to hand out to the people that need it. The lines are starting to grow again across the country at food banks all around North America because people don't have the funds any longer to buy the goods. The food banks aren't getting what they used to get because the stores don't have products for their normal customers. So they're not donating to the food banks, and people don't have food to donate to the food banks. So they're scrambling to find whatever they can to put in their little baskets so they can hand them out. And then we have to deal with the farmers. The fertilizer shortage this coming year is supposed to be astronomically high. If the farmers cannot get the fertilizer that they need for their fields, their crop yields will be lower, and that means less food for us in the stores. The farmers are not able to get the products, and if they do find the fertilizers that they need for their crops, the prices have doubled or quadrupled over just this past year, putting a lot of farmers in a really bad situation. What are we going to do across the farmlands of this country just to feed the American people? The small farmers are trying to do what they can also, but they're in the same boat. They don't have the means, and they can't get a hold of the goods they need to produce the food that we do need and that we so desire to have on the shelves once again. It's just a fact of life that we live in at this point in time. Times have changed. Farming is changing. Maybe it's time that we start thinking outside the box like they do in other countries and start turning our fields into greenhouses. These huge, monstrous greenhouses that they have been putting in these fields, they have control over all the different types of foods they grow, from fruits and vegetables and everything. And they can grow these products year-round, and they're very successful at doing that. But we don't have that large style greenhouses here in America. Maybe we can learn something from some other countries. Sometimes change is good. We can make a difference. We have to adapt to the changing conditions that are taking place around us on a daily basis in order to survive and have the food that we need in order to survive. In some countries, all the fields are pretty much been changed into greenhouses, and this way they have succeeded in securing the food they need. Inside these greenhouses, they're all climate controlled, water controlled. They control everything, and they get mass produce that comes out of these greenhouses. Maybe it's time for us to look at our old greenhouses in our backyards, or build our own greenhouses and start investing in our future by doing it ourselves. Fire up that rototiller. If you have the land, you have the ability to grow your own food. You have the ability into succeeding in being off the grid, not relying on the grocery stores to give you what you need to survive. Yes, you have to put in all the hard work.
You have to get your hands dirty. You have to be able to survive, folks. This is one way that you can ensure that year-round you would have food to put on your table, healthy food, to ensure that you and your family can sustain and survive through any storm. You see, all it takes is a will, and with that will, you will always survive. You control with your own garden and greenhouse and everything. You control what you grow. You control what goes in it. You control everything. You know what is in your food. And that is very important because, see, in the end, when the harvest time comes, you'll have a bountiful harvest and you'll be able to survive and put those beautiful foods that you love to eat on the table, that you grew in your own garden and supplied the food for your family for the rest of their lives. So here we are, folks. We're back. For now, the lights are on, the roads are running, everything is moving. The gas pumps are still have gas, cars are still running down the road, and trucks are moving. But it's only a matter of time now, isn't it? With the way that the world is going, things aren't looking too promising nowadays, now are they? So I would suggest, if you like this video, and if you like the videos that are done on this channel, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment below. I sure hope that everybody stays safe. You keep prepping, and you keep the notion and the positivity in your family that no matter what happens, when the power goes out, you'll be just fine and you can survive. This is Survival Preparedness for Beginners. Thank you for joining me today.